Okay. I actually don't really, haven't really made any progress since last stream in terms of how the fuck do I approach this. So we're just gonna do some random stuff and then see how it goes. I think this, the vertex, rotating the vertices, I think is going to be the hardest part. But it's almost a little bit like, if I'm already doing this, then I might as well almost just make configurations for each. But it's like, each configuration is gonna be like, six, 12, 24, 36. 36 configurations, I think, per configuration. So, or let's say 36 variants per configuration. I think that's more accurate. That's why I really wanted to do some kind of rotation system instead. But it's also the reality that here I have to set each one manually anyway to a certain rotation. And if that's the case, then is there any point in having the rotation? As opposed to just changing the configuration index to the new one. That's the thing, right? I had to do it anyway. But there aren't that many types, and honestly, once one is done, there'll be a lot of copy pasting, I think. But either way, we want to get one voxel to work. That's step one here. I think I'm actually gonna remove rotation. It's just one of those things, right? Because if we go back and we look at these, this is the kind of stuff I'm gonna have to manually set up. I honestly don't know how they're doing it here, but I think I just have to set up the vertices manually. But having the rotation here is just gonna take up too much space. I don't like it. What are you bitching about? Right. I said bitching about that. For control is returned to the caller. What? The shittiest part is that this is gonna be like 100 or more entries. And if I end up having like 200 entries, if I have to add something in between here, then I'm gonna have to update every single one. This is such a shit way of doing it, but I think this is the one that genuinely has the most promise. It's really, instead of calculating anything, we're just presetting. And it's just that there's like 1,000 million versions. like I said, I wanted to avoid that, but I think I can't. I think I can't. I simply can't. So where do we bake this? We've got the volume. We can bake it in there somewhere, I think. Volume contents, temp alignment, volume contents 496. What does that mean? Okay, so this is the volume, which by the way right now is 7, and I was thinking of it being more, but we'll see. We'll see. 7, or which translates to 8, more or less, is fine. But 16 would also be okay. The reason this should be 8. It's actually a little bit incorrect. The math I'm doing right now is I'm just taking 7 and dividing it by 7. But that means it is 7, really, because a value of 0 is an empty voxel. So then it shouldn't have anything anyway. So it should be 1 to 8. This should be... That's what this should mean. A 0 here should mean 1. And this should mean 8. Anyway, 496. So it means that the 9th bit should be free here. How much do we need? I think we might need like this many. I'm not sure 255 is gonna cut it. So for the voxel configuration, we might need like 10 bits. I strongly doubt we're gonna go up to 511. That should not be the case. We should have like something like that. 255 should be enough. But it depends on like how I handle rotation and stuff. I still think rotation could be better, but I actually think it's worse. Like, it feels nicer. Like, yeah, we're just gonna have like a basic voxel configuration, and then we rotate that using rotation. But the rotation is a minimum 6 bits. And at that point, like, you'd need like 3 for it to take up less. So therefore, it would be better to just add like 1 more bit to this. So here we're doing calculate config. But yeah, it is something we don't really want to keep here. But we don't really need to have it like this. Like, this doesn't need to be an int, neither does this. This should just be a byte. Even a byte would be too much, because it's half a byte. Here, a voxel alignment, this an enum, this is also not very good. I think an enum is just an int. I think this is not good. See what I mean here? If I have to update these when we have like 200 of them, I don't know what a good approach for this would be. Like the only thing I can think of is creating like an enum for every single voxel type and describe it like concave, top left, bottom left, bottom right, bottom forward, bottom back. Because that would give me the ability to actually like rearrange them and change the values in the enum, as opposed to setting the values here individually. And then more importantly, having to adjust everything that's below. I don't know what kind of system would make sense here. I don't think there's any good way to handle this. But first and foremost, let's just set this. So voxel volume contents. What would it be? If we say that it's 8 bits for now, and it needs to start at 9. What would that be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's a value. We zero it. And then here we're gonna say configuration index 9. Yeah. Something like that. And then we're already setting this. The only thing is that we're not actually running calculate config yet. And for that, like that, and then we simply need to add you. This should be multi-threaded. How did you do that? Right here we're setting alignment matrix, and this here could be multi-threaded to make it a lot faster, but I guess whatever. That's what we need to add there. And then here we have this. I don't know what the best way to handle an array is, though. There's so much dog shit here. I feel like I just gotta get rid of it. So this is how many vertices I really should be having. However, this should now be a float 3. Like, I did this before and it ran like dog shit. But we can try again. That's actually what these are named for. What's it called? That's what it should be. Then here, this should be the voxel config. And here we should have... I don't know if I should just... if this is what you can do. Not so sure. Do I have to assign it beforehand? I think I probably do. How do you use in-out? So when it's out, you have to type out. You don't have to type anything for in-out? In-out acts like ref. But even for ref, you have to type ref. All right. Well, I think that should be an out. And third count. Isn't that how it works? No, you don't type out here. It's one of those things that confuse me. That also means that we don't assign that there, I think. And then we just do that. And then we go here and we say else vert count equals 0. That way we know. Then we can say if vert count equals 0, then we continue. Because that means invalid or empty, and we don't want to render either. It doesn't mean empty though, because we can't come here on an empty voxel, but of course. This is more in line with what we're doing. And then here we're gonna say if hit, then hit equals false. We're gonna say int, no, float min, float out. And here we're gonna have out everywhere. And then we're gonna say if T out we actually don't need to do this. I don't think we almost even need to return anything. And then here we need to say if T out is less than T min, then T min equals T out. What was I doing before? Side, yeah, we set sides. But I don't really want to do that anymore. Though we can't still say int try it. And then we list this from try 0 to 11. And then we color them slightly differently, I think. That way, this is going to become less about directional entries and more about which triangle is getting hit and where, I think. Right. We don't need this here. We don't need to set hit to 0 either. Or to false. That's all it needs to do. But here's what I kind of don't like. How should I set up these triangles? Because the problem, right, is that if I do it like this, then we're gonna draw a triangle like that. But the thing here is that I need to draw the triangles depending on the situation. So do I really want to draw it from 0 to 3 to 1? And even then, like the next one, 3, 2, 1? I don't know. It's so weird. Because I guess it doesn't matter that much. It doesn't matter that it's 3. Like, did you just have to reconfigure it, maybe? Like, if this is how we're doing it now, all I have to do is say that zero is here. And then it'll render it properly. Maybe. But that's not necessarily true, because if this is gonna connect to like down here or to up there, then this might be a little different. Maybe it doesn't matter. I'm just trying to think of like, how do I tell it to render using the proper triangle orders and stuff like that? I feel like I almost have to use some sort of array. Like I have to create triangles on the fly, and that means that we have to, instead of doing what I'm doing now, because here I'm creating vertices on the fly, and then we just do this and that. But I think we actually need to create triangles on the fly. So I need to make a struct that's just a triangle. And it takes that, right? And then we need to make an array of triangles. And I think that's what we gotta return here. So now this becomes even more complicated. But like here, we don't need to return an array of voxels or vertices. We need to return an array of triangles. Oh, I feel like I'm shooting myself in the foot. And here, what I kind of want to do here is create a uniform. But I don't know. If it's global, should it be static? Like, I think it should be static. But then we have to name it something. And I think maybe something like that. And that way we can use those instead. And then we can say test 0 dot v0 equals vert 0 0. Nah, you know what? I'm gonna call them this instead. I'm gonna name them after these. That's gonna make things a hell of a lot more easy. Are these correct though? 0, minus, minus, minus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, they're correct. This is too many letters though. What should I call them? I guess. Yes. Yes, unfortunately. But this is the one that has the most sides too. Right. And now the question is, in which order does everything happen? But I had an order. So this is now bottom. And then that's going to be zero, 1, 4. No, hold on. This is still front. So this is 3, 2, 1. No, 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 no. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I already did that. And then this is going to be, this is bottom. So this is 0. Okay. This is 3, 3, 0, 7, I think. And this is 0, 4, 7. And left 4, 0, 5, 0, 1, 5. 3, 7, 2, 7, 6, 2. One, 2, 5, 2, 6, 5. And then 7, 4, 6, 4, 5, 6. That's that. And these should actually be group share, I think. And I think you can't make them like static or uniform. Group shared is instead of that. This should be index 1 actually. Anything else should be vert count equals 0. Yeah. And then here we should have if vert count is greater than but this should actually now be try count. Here try count is 12. And this should now be a triangle. And then the try count or the try check could be repurposed to just take a triangle. But for now, we can say instead. This anymore. It actually matters a lot that everything is lined up. There's so much copy pasting going on here. Like mass adjustment. Maybe we'll do something with the try hit later, but right now I think I don't know. Maybe we'll just do sides for the time being. But that's not how it's gonna be. Because later on, if we get this to render and it doesn't run like shit, when I get a surface voxel to render that only shows one side, that's always just going to be two triangles. So it's just always going to be this. Let's steal that instead. Can this actually render something? I think we might be array index out of bounds. Right. Looks like a no-go. This one should be drawable. But it isn't. Uh-huh. It's incorrect syntax. It's used without having been completely initialized. Oh man, come on. This is what I was trying to avoid. I wanted to have undefined shit. HLSL dynamic length array. I think it simply has to be done this way for this to make any sense. We just have to accept that this is an amount of data that we don't have a choice. But to allocate it immediately. There's no two ways around this, I think. This has to be done. But I don't think that's that big of a deal. All right. I don't think it's gonna work. Nah, we got nothing. So why don't we have anything? I feel like it should work. This is voxel config 1. Right. So if calculate configuration runs, if voxel alignment. Ah, yes, that's why. Voxel alignment isn't actually set. Do I want to do that? I could just extract it too. And we do it like that instead. What about now? For whatever reason, we're getting black boxes, which I kind of don't think we should. But we're also not getting... The only box we're not seeing is the box I want to see. Almost. Look. This is the box I want to see. But for whatever reason, we are not. Oh, albino's gone. Things are going terrible. It's not working. Took a few hours this afternoon to try to learn some stuff in drawings. Sounds good. Learning is good. Pain in the ass, though. I feel like this should work. Because here, this is supposed to set try count to 0. And if try count is 0, then we continue. And a continue means that we skip. I don't really understand. Because if we start it again, when we look over, you can see on the left there, it says alignment in my voxel info thing. And this one actually has an alignment of 111, which I think isn't entirely accurate. But because it is 111, and same thing with this one, if I can find it. Didn't think it would be that far away. Where is it? There. It was here. Here. This one is alignment VA 111 as well. So why is the one that's working not rendering? And why are the ones that aren't working not continuing? This is so weird. Is it because I set T out to be... Oh yeah, there's one thing missing here. This needs to say T out is greater than or equal to 0. But I think that's just gonna make everything invisible now. Nope, it just didn't work. Didn't do anything at all. Why is it black? Might have to do with this. No. This to me screams like syntax issue. So something is not actually legal. And because of that, it's shitting the bed. What if we set these to static? That was not it. What else? What is the problem here? I don't really understand. Like, why would they render black? That's like not even a thing I'm really doing. Can't be this. That doesn't make any sense. Or maybe it does. Okay, yeah, fair enough. It's fair somehow. That doesn't really help. Because we're still not able to render this thing. Which I feel like we should be able to now. Because this isn't that big of a deal. This is not that difficult. This should just work. Dude, what is wrong? Okay, nothing. Why is this not working? Oh wait, hold on. These are just declared incorrectly. Didn't help. Oh. Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. We've got some voxels here. That's one. Only like 250 to go. This is... I don't know what I'm doing. Jesus Christ. But I'm like, in all seriousness, I think this has to be done via an enum. I think any other way of doing this would be absolutely backbreaking. The only other solution I can even think of is via a string key dictionary. But that's just a shitty enum. So we need an enum that looks something like public enum voxel config, and then this is just gonna be like, you don't actually, I don't know why I do this. I do this because I'm retarded, but you don't actually need to do that. So you can just say like cube. You can say concave, convex, cube aligned, cube connected, surface, concave, convex, slope, and then I'm not sure. I don't know what else we need. This is concave, surface. This is the new one. This is convex, slope. I don't know what the fuck this is supposed to be. This is just an aligned cube. And I think an aligned cube could probably be a thing. And then here, this is where things become dog shit, because convex actually needs to have certain values. Because, and how do I what do I call it? It needs to have some kind of system. So it's gonna need to be like convex L underscore. Maybe like L. And then like X0, Z0. And this is where I don't know if I want to just blow my brains out and give up. Right, because this is insane. It really is insane. That's 16 entries for one shape on one side. Like it's honestly doable, but it's gonna take like weeks to set this up. I don't know. Like I feel like I need to. I feel like this would make more sense if it was generated in some manner, but I don't know how I would do that either. Because this is all just about defining. Why did you block me on Shitter? I don't know. Who the hell are you? Are you gonna follow up on that, or should I just ban you? Then it's because you're probably a shitty Twitter artist who's going around liking people's streams and trying to sell fucking graphics. And also you're a band evader. So goodbye. Let me just say, artists who go around and just find streams and try to sell graphics for it, worst people in the world. I hope AI takes all of your jobs. You're a fucking blight. Find something better to do. Nobody wants a proactive Twitch banner artist. I have to block like 30 of you every month. And like 99% are scammers. Get another job. We can do it. It's doable. This is doable. It's just gonna suck such humongous ass that it's just unbelievable. Cube connected. That's gonna need a few. Cube aligned. That's gonna need like a million. And I kind of don't want to do cube aligned yet. But the problem is cube aligned is actually just these. Like it needs infinity cube aligned. That just look like that. And a cube that is cube aligned 1 1 1 1. That's just a cube. So we can get rid of that and just go with 1 1 1 1. And then cube connected. That's gonna be X, Y, and Z. And here we've got convex L. This is then convex R. This should actually be Y. This is then front. Then we need to rotate X and Z. Convex back. Oh, this is F and B, that's ZY. And then there's down and top. And here we need this to be Z instead. All right, we have now set up convex. That was 96. Holy shit, is it that many, man? Like, some of these are duplicates, but not many, actually. Would it be better to represent them as like Euler angles? I'm not so sure. That's what this is, but it is kind of confusing, I think. But it doesn't make sense. Like, not really. I mean, I guess it kind of does. This is an amount that I don't appreciate. This is why I was trying to do it with like an angle system or rotation system. But I don't feel like I can. Because now what I have to do is I have to do this. And then this has to be concave. Slope. Just this, just these three. That's 288 entries. And then a surface needs 6 only, really. A slope, however, is really just a surface. So the slopes could potentially be cut. But it's not the same, because part of this is so that I can determine where I need to do math afterwards as well. And it's just, I really want to do this in another way, but I can't think of another way. However, that being said, this is actually pretty much all of them. But it's still insane. It's still insane. But there's another reality, and that's where there are a couple of realities here. The first is that a slope doesn't actually have that many configurations. Because a slope has it has 8 configurations. It doesn't actually have that many. Because this is filled, right? So it has this shape in every in all 4 directions, and then reversed. So you only actually have 8 slopes. So that would be like slope I'm just gonna say slope D left back right front, and then the same thing but slope U. Attached to down plus L. Attached to up plus L. Etc. etc. There we save a lot of input on the slopes there. However, this requires something. And this is something I have been thinking about, and it might be okay for it to be like that. But what this needs is that I decide that there is something called a dominant axis. And that's going to be Y. The Y-axis is going to be dominant because if I make a slope, that slope should be 2 triangles. But with that said, that means that it has to be textured in a certain way. And if you think about how Minecraft voxels work, you have the top is green, the side is dirt, right? And that's what I can't have in that scenario. I can, kind of, but it's gonna need some extra tricks, like anything below this point is dirt or stuff like that, which would be okay. So I think it's fixable and doable, like either way. But the way I was doing it was I was splitting it so that if I had a slope, then this part of the slope was the top and this was the like right, for example, or front. And that would have fucked up the texturing, I think, really hard. So it's a lot better if you just say that we just remove, in order to make a slope, we just remove one side entirely instead of combining them. And that's what we're doing here now. And the same, I think, is actually true for concave. Concave should also only be 8. In fact, I think all of them should only be 8. Because this can be connected to here, here, and here. Actually, is it? No, fuck, the slope can be different too. Yeah. We don't just have... I was thinking like, okay, yeah, we have this, and then we have this, right? But that's not entirely true. Because we also have this. And this isn't actually covered by rotating these. So this is how many. So it's going to be up and it's going to be front. And then instead of front here and this is going to be back. This should be down and top. But that's still a lot less than it was. But I think this is good. And so the same thing with concave. Yeah, it's gonna be the same with concave. But that's a hell of a lot better. Slightly less. Yeah, now it's only 84 lines. Instead of like 500. This is a lot more doable without wanting to blow my brains out. We have cubes here. Surfaces. Concave, slope. I can actually render spheres with this method as well. Because we don't have to use the tries. So that's neat. That it means that I can actually implement different shapes, because once this is implemented, this means I can render triangles. But all we have to do is as we go into voxel configuration, it's going to return. Well, it is going to return triangles. But it is possible for me to say that if voxel configuration is a certain value, then we check triangles, and if it's like 200 or something, then we can go and we can check for spheres instead, or sphere alignments and sphere implementations, and then we can use the sphere check instead. I don't know if I want to do that, but it should be very possible. And it would be nice to be able to have spheres, I think. But then there's the question of this thing here. But if I just implement that last, then it's kind of whatever. I have cubes with alignments. I have an unaligned cube. So I don't really, I like, one thing that I really don't like that I'm doing is that I have alignment that doesn't actually tell us if it's empty on the sides. And right now I'm using 5 bits to represent the alignments, and I would need 6 bits in order to have, because 5 bits is 31, right? And the thing about that is that I am already using 27 entries, I think, for alignments. And yeah, there's just not enough room, and it's just getting clunkier and clunkier the further you go. So the play would be to add another bit and then just say that each bit here represents a side. And then if front has a voxel on it, then I just use this. However, this is also not very good. Because I can just load its neighbor and check. Right. So, like, what alignment saves me is that I can just load the voxel and then I can just use the alignment easily. Well, yeah. It also lets me make calculations. I guess it saves me some things. It lets me do calculations with the alignment because it's 1 or -1. But I can still set that up. And it also makes it easy to just access my neighbors because here we have get alignment, and it's as you can see, it's an index, and then we return. This is exactly what we're doing for the voxels. I think maybe we stop there for today. I think the cube connected. I'm not really sure how to handle that. Because, like, what should... If we pretend that we have some... like, this is voxel ground, I guess. And then we have some voxels on top. If I do this, how should this be rendered? Should this just be a block? Right now we don't have that many tries, so there's only so much you can do here, I think. So I think this would just have to be just an aligned cube. But the thing is, if I was to put a voxel here, what shape would this be then? Is this just a slope? Or what? Or do I make a special shape here? I mean, it would just have to be a slope, I think. Otherwise, it would have to be something like this. I don't know. This is a slope. But the reality is that this is, yeah, this is a slope. This is just a slope. And this is also, well, this is a corner. So that's the real solution here. It's just, this is a slope and everything else is also a slope. This is a convex corner. So this would look like this. No, this is a concave corner, rather. It might look like that, maybe. But I think this is actually wrong. I'm not sure. Yeah. It shouldn't have that connection at the top. It shouldn't be like this. It should be the whole way there. And then this should just be there and there. That's how this should look. Not this. Perhaps. I think either kind of works as well, so I'm not sure. This will create a more rounded corner. Because then this is gonna be like the final shape here is gonna look like this. Right. But if this goes all the way out to the edge there, then the final shape is gonna look like this. And it's all slopes still. So I think there's no wrong choice here. I think this is more like an artistic choice. yeah, we'll stop there. Until next time, thanks for hanging. Have a good night. Bye bye.